What's up, guys? Lydia Alverson back with another video after a bit of a hiatus. So, in this particular tech video, I'm going to discuss how I enable voiceover in the login window. Now, what I'm saying is, I'm just going to show you guys the setting that I use to enable this in system preferences. So, the login window, by the way, for those who aren't sure, is basically on is the screen you get when you turn on your computer, and specifically I'm using a Mac. It's when that's where you enter your username, your password, basically all your credentials to log in. I know there was a video that was done on this a few years ago by John Panarese of Mac for the Blind, but I believe this was on an older version of Mac OS or OS 10. But since then, there's been a few changes, and I'll address those later. So, basically, what this setting allows me to do is to have VoiceOver automatically start when my computer is finished booting up. That way I don't have to manually turn it on just to log in, which I personally think is too much of a hassle, or it just takes a little more time. But then again, it is personal preference. So, without further ado, let's get started. And before I start this demonstration, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to any new subscribers. So, for those of you that are new to this channel, welcome, because I post a lot of these videos from time to time. So, I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so just to save time, instead of having to go into system preferences to look for all this, I'm just going to go ahead and access the users and groups preference pane with Spotlight.
Spotlight, system.
And I'm just going to start typing it in.
Users and groups, system preferences icon image. Application, close button. System preferences, users and groups, window, toolbar.
Okay, so now we're here. So now we're in the users and groups preference pane. Now this, for first-time Mac users that are visually impaired and that use VO, this may seem a little bit confusing. I think this tripped up a lot of people at some point. So I'll show you guys to the best of my ability how this works. So the first thing, and this is what we're going to be looking for, is
users, groups, and login options. List one item selected.
And you want to go ahead and interact with this, or for sighted people, or for sighted viewers, place the voiceover cursor in the boundaries of this list. So I'm going to interact with this by hitting VO shift down arrow here.
In users, groups, and login options, list one item selected.
So now I'm in the list. Now this would be like your list of users, but I'm the only person using this computer. So I'm gonna go to the bottom of the window, which actually has the very last option that I'm looking for, which is
login options, group, font.
Login options, which is a group, which there isn't really anything if I interact with this. So I'm gonna get out of here by hitting VO shift up arrow. So I'm gonna stop interacting.
Out of users.
So now we have a few more options, but before I get to those, I just want to let you know that a lot of these checkboxes are, in fact, grayed out right now. This is because these preferences are locked, which means only the administrator of the machine is allowed to make the necessary changes. So, for sighted viewers, the padlock icon, I believe, is in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. But for VoiceOver users, in order for you to view this lock icon, VoiceOver reads it
help button
as
click the lock to make changes button.
Click the lock to make changes. Now when these preferences are unlocked, it is click the lock to prevent further changes. So let me go ahead and unlock these real quick.
Help in dialog 4.
And actually, some settings in system preferences won't matter whether you want
help
your
button.
Touch ID or password. Some are mandatory. For some, it is mandatory for you to enter your password. So those preferences are unlocked, and it gives you that little sound effect to let you know. Alright, so now we're ready to view these. So, the setting I'm looking for here is accessibility. Accessibility options.
Delete user. Add join network accessibility options button.
So this is where the change comes in. So this, I believe, was just a single checkbox that read as use voiceover in the login window, and I believe voiceover was the only thing they offered for this setting. So, but now they've got a few other options here for other disabilities, and I'll review those later, or I'll review those in a second. So let me go ahead and hit it. Click this button here.
These accessibility items will automatically be enabled in the login window.
So basically, the disclaimer here. Actually, let me read the disclaimer for you.
Table, no select. These accessibility items will automatically be enabled in the login window. These table, turning off a feature disables that feature for all users at the login window, but can be turned back on by the accessibility shortcut menu. Start by turning on a feature. Your own configurations will be used for all users at the login window.
Self-explanatory there. So this will automatically be enabled depending on which checkbox you check in this table.
Table, no selection.
Which I'm going to review in a minute. So basically, this states that whatever checkbox you enable, it's going to be enabled for all users. So let me show you how this works. Now, I do admit the first time I've been trying to find this and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I did have to refer to an article on Applevis, which is a website that mainly deals with Apple products and the blindness community, or the visually impaired community, or blind or visually impaired community, rather. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and interact with this table now.
In table, row 1 of 6.
Okay, so now we have a list of different accessibility options here. So the first thing we have is
voiceover, unchecked checkbox.
This is unchecked, and I'll go back to that in a minute.
Zoom, unchecked checkbox.
Zoom.
Accessibility keyboard star, unchecked checkbox.
Accessibility keyboard.
Sticky keys, unchecked checkbox.
Sticky keys.
Slow keys, unchecked checkbox.
Slow keys.
Mouse keys, unchecked checkbox.
So this is just keyboard related stuff. But I'm going to go back to the top here.
Voiceover, unchecked checkbox, row 1 of 6.
And I'm going to go ahead and enable this feature by checking this box.
Check voiceover checkbox.
All right. Stop interacting here.
Out of table.
Okay, so I want to go ahead and confirm these settings. So I'm going to hit
apply button.
I'm going to hit the apply button, but I'll show you
cancel button.
There is a cancel button. But
apply button.
I'm going to go ahead and click this.
Accessibility options button. Closing dialog.
So now, every time I turn on my Mac and I'm presented with a login screen, VoiceOver will automatically come up just so I don't have to enable it with Command F5. Or if I was on a touch bar Mac, I wouldn't have to hold down Command and hit Touch ID 3 times. And that's pretty much it. Oh, wait a minute. I almost forgot. Just kidding. We still gotta lock these preferences up. So let me go ahead and go back here.
Help button.
To the lock.
Click the lock to prevent further changes.
To the
button.
To the lock icon, and now VoiceOver reads that as click the lock to prevent further changes. You probably recognized earlier it said click the lock to make changes, and I think I might have mentioned this earlier. Now it's telling me click the lock to prevent further changes. So now what this is going to do is going to lock these preferences back up.
Help button.
And that just about settles it.
Menu extras. Stop record.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this little demonstration. If you guys like what you see, please feel free to subscribe to the channel because I post content like this every so often, as well as other miscellaneous things. So, without being said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.